we are now several months and really a full season removed from Operation Metro Surge, the immigration enforcement action in Minnesota that was primarily a winter event, wound down really towards the end of February. It's now June. So yeah, time has flown, but it's still very much recent history, very fresh. Really what happened, the data from this is going to be studied for a long time to come. A lot of that data has already been examined, in more detail, really all the time. So joining me more to discuss more about what we've seen from some of these numbers, Aaron Rosenthal, the research director for North Star Policy Action. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's begin with just a little background of what North Star Policy Action is and what you do.
Sure. So North Star Policy Action is an independent research and communications institute, and we are broadly dedicated to improving the lives of working Minnesotans. So that's everything from making sure that we build clean energy with family-sustaining jobs in Minnesota, to making sure that public school teachers are getting paid well, to ensuring that workers, if they're going on strike, receive unemployment insurance. So we cover a lot of issues, but we're broadly focused on supporting working people here in the state.
All right. Well, this new report that came out earlier this week, I think it was the second when you published this, really taking a look specifically at the hospitality, the leisure and hospitality sector in Minnesota and how it was impacted here. So we're talking restaurants, hotels, tourism. How did you look at this in different ways than some of maybe the information that had been out there already?
Sure. So, I think a lot of us have heard the heartbreaking stories about restaurants losing business, about workers being afraid to show up. We've seen job reports come out that have showed declining employment within the leisure and hospitality sector. What we did that was a bit different is basically comparing Minnesota to what we call a synthetic Minnesota. So looking at peer states that in the time leading up to the start of Operation Metro Surge looked almost identical to what Minnesota looked like, and then basically studied the gap between Minnesota and that synthetic Minnesota in the time after the surge started. And what that allows us to do is really isolate the very specific impact that Operation Metro Surge had on the industry, looking at, in this case, the first 3 months of 2026.
All right. I think the report says here, the numbers that I pulled out of this, the first 3 months of 2026, 4,600 jobs lost, a 3% loss of working hours among those who kept working, and a total of $71 million in lost wages. You see these numbers, you hear about this, you think, okay, that happened. What does this mean for us now?
Sure. So, yeah, just to reiterate, these are pretty large losses, right? One thing to be clear about, we're talking about the leisure and hospitality sector. It's one of the lowest paying sectors in the state. So, these are housekeepers, line cooks, people working the front desk at hotels, people who are often, working paycheck to paycheck. So the loss of $71 million in wages in just 3 months is substantial. In terms of where we go from here, let's first reflect that the legislature, we think, really missed an opportunity this last session to provide relief funds to these workers who were impacted by Operation Metro Surge. Certainly would have liked to see some relief provided to them. With that said, there will be another legislative session in 2027, another chance for the legislature to address this and really provide some assistance to workers who, from anecdotal accounts have really told these horrendous stories, but also what we're putting numbers to, showing just how big the impact was, and that we need to see relief that matches the scale of the harm done.
So is that really the purpose then of this, this study, is not just to say, well, here's what happened, but to say as the months continue heading to the next session, that this is data that is going to be used to really push for some of these relief packages?
Yeah, I think one thing that we want to do is not sort of let the state move on, right? I mean, I think, as you said in the opening, there's this sense of we're sort of past, we're in a new season, right? We're in summer, things are sort of trending differently. But we can't just allow this to become this, oh, that happened and now we've moved on. This is still very real damage that people went through. There is still a real opportunity for us to provide assistance to the individuals who are impacted. And so our hope is, make sure that people understand the scope of what happened, and B, that people will take this seriously and really try to continue efforts to provide relief to both recognize that people suffered this harm and to allow them to be made whole again in relation to what they had to go through and the financial insecurity that undoubtedly stemmed from that time.
Okay, and lastly here, your report says that recovery has remained slow. So, we talk about the lost wages, those are gone. We talk about the jobs that are lost. Are those jobs coming back? Are they coming back slowly? Do you predict or forecast that there will be kind of a fuller recovery over time? What are we looking at?
Sure. So one of the things that our study focuses January, February, March of 2026. What's important to understand about that is, January and February were really the height of the surge. March, by then, we had started to see a lot of agents leaving the state, but our analysis shows that March was still a month in which the leisure and hospitality sector was deeply, deeply impacted by the ICE surge, in that there were still lost jobs, there were still lost hours and lost wages. So that's the period of our study. In April, which is not included in our analysis, but we did recently get the job numbers from April of 2026, there was some recovery in that sector. So we saw job growth there. It didn't return us back to pre-surge levels, but it did indicate some recovery. So yes, that indicates we might be headed back in the right direction after really 3 months of very steep decline. But the other thing to understand, of course, is just because we're tracking back in the right direction, that doesn't make up for all the harm that was already done. And again, that is only where relief from the legislature could actually help. We're not going to sort of get jobs back to a point that would make up for the harm that was already done.
Yeah, the jobs and wages may return, but what was lost was still lost.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Aaron Rosenthal with North Star Policy Action. Thanks for taking time today.
Thank you so much.
All right.